Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, our 130th episode. Sorry, we're a little late. We had some stuff going on that we had to take care of in the real world. But, Niles, how have you been since our last recording session?
I've been pretty good. I've been very busy. The reason why we're late is because I was moving, and that takes a lot of time and energy. So I'm feeling very tired by all of that, but I'm happy to be moved in and enjoying the new place, and just happy that I'm closer to the Wi-Fi. So hopefully we'll have fewer internet issues on this show. But what
Yeah,
about you,
pretty good
Dylan? How
as
are you?
well. Also, super busy. I did not move. I'm in the same place, as viewers can likely see. I will say, just if anyone who's listening, audio on Niles' end, something's wrong with the main microphone, so he's using a backup one. That's why he sounds a little different. Nothing we can do about that. It is what it is. If you ever start a show like this yourself, you will see
Hmm.
technology is the bane of your existence. Every time one of our
Yeah.
tools will break and we just have to wing it and go. But yeah, enough about that. This week, as usual, we are talking about a movie, and this week we are talking about The Devil Wears
Hmm.
Prada 2. Set 2 decades after the 2006 original, Devil Wears Prada 2 follows journalist Andy Sachs as circumstances return her to Runway magazine after a crisis puts the fierce Miranda Priestly on the back foot. Directed by David Frankel and written by Aline Broche McKenna, who returned to their creative roles from the first film. The movie stars Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci, all returning from the first movie, along with several new additions of Justin Theroux, Kenneth Branagh, Lucy Liu, and several others. Niles, what are your initial non-spoiler thoughts on The Devil Wears Prada 2?
This is such a pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
nostalgic trip down memory lane. I should have
Mm-hmm.
watched the original before we went and saw the sequel. So I kind of dropped the ball there, but you know, I've watched it before. I've watched it at least two times in my
Mm-hmm.
life. It's been a few years, but I think I can say that this movie doesn't live up
Okay.
to the original, but I think the sequel is very enjoyable. I'm quite pleased
Mm-hmm.
with The Devil Wears Prada 2. I have some small minor issues with the movie, but I don't think that this is a soulish cash grab or anything else. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think there's so many other sequels that are put out that are, just trying to make a quick buck for the studio, bankroll something else, and I don't think that this is really that. I think that they were very intentional with
Mm-hmm.
the script and the story, and the timing of this movie too. And I think it really comes through pretty well overall. I'm very pleased with it overall. Uh, I don't consider myself to be a fashion expert. I mean, look at me, look at me, um,
Mm-hmm.
just wearing a classic T-shirt and all that. So, I'm not exactly powerhouse on the fashion side, but I really enjoyed all the fashion
Mm-hmm.
displayed in this movie in the Devil Wears Prada 2. I think the costume department did a fantastic job, just like in the original movie. Everyone, whether they're on the runway or they're just heading to the office
Mm-hmm.
to work with Miranda or whatever, everybody looks their best. So if you are a fashion fan, I'm sure that you're going to love seeing all these cameos as well of designers, like not
Mm-hmm.
just the fashion. You'll love the fashion, but I think you'll be pleased to see like cameos with designers, models, fashion icons. It's just there's a lot of things to appreciate in this
Mm-hmm.
movie from a fashion perspective. And I don't think that like the plot is like terribly complicated or anything like that. But I think it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It does the job, and I think the cast, everybody, Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, everybody, Stanley Tucci, they did a great
Mm-hmm.
job with what they were given. Um, what are some of your initial thoughts?
Yeah.
I've got a few more, but
Yeah,
I
I,
wanted
I
to hear
really
you
like
too.
this. I also I did have a chance to rewatch the original. I rewatched it last weekend. It'd been the first time in over 10, 12 years that I'd seen it, so I felt like that was due. So I'll give like some thoughts on that movie too. Like that's a great
Hmm.
movie. It came out in 2006. There are a couple things that I don't love about the first one, and I think they are really symptomatic of the fact that it is an early 2000s movie. Just some of the like sentiment from that era seeps in. Like there were
Yeah.
Andy as a protagonist in the first one sort of strays up to the edge of like N-log territory. I don't know, like, for people who don't know what that means, an N-log is a type of character who is a female protagonist, but she's not like the other girls, um, and it's a
Oh.
trope
Mhm.
that's very tired at this point and kind of annoying. And she doesn't
Yes.
fully fall into that, but there are behaviors like in the first one especially where she's like, ugh, this like runway fashion stuff, it's also shallow and blah blah blah. And it's like there's a great
Hmm.
scene in the original which we'll talk about a little bit later here, but where Miranda and Nigel and some of the other people at Runway are like trying to put together an outfit, and they have these two blue belts, and they look like, to us and
Right.
to Andy, like very similar. And one of the characters is like, "Oh, but I don't know which one. They're so different." And then she laughs, and then Miranda, like, it's a great scene because she really digs into
Hmm.
her and is mean spirited about it. But she's like, you think you just throw on some random thing from your closet, but what you don't understand is that that sweater you're wearing, that color was chosen for you years ago. Like, you don't know that this designer made this choice with this material, blah blah blah. And it's like all of that was like deliberate artistry that over the decades
Hmm.
filtered down into just being a department store buy, but it started as an artistic decision. So
Hmm.
I really like that stuff. The Also, her boyfriend in the first movie just sucks. Like, I just don't like that type of character. And to be fair, like, she does miss his birthday party, shitty, but he's like, when she starts sort of embracing the fashion world a little bit, and to be fair, like, losing herself a little as well, but he's just like, oh, I liked the old clothes. I like the old Andy before you cared about all this. It's like, fuck you. Like, let her do her thing and find herself. Quit being an asshole. So I'm kind of glad that he didn't. I'm glad that he didn't
Yeah.
come back. I
Right.
didn't really like him. But yeah, the original, great
Hmm.
movie. This new one, I think it does a great job of evolving the characters and their dynamics with each other. Like, the conflict in this movie is very different than the type of drama in the
Yeah.
first one, and I think that's what makes it feel more fresh than a lot of. It's weird that it's like this is a totally separate genre from where we normally see legacy sequels, right? But this is a legacy sequel,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
really it does kind of flip the script in a lot of ways. Like, everybody is 20 years on in their career and their lives, and seeing how they interact as older, more mature people, I found really rewarding. And like, so
Yeah.
that's rewarding in the fictional sense, but also revisiting these characters in this story through the lens of like 2026, I thought was great as well, because it's not um I think it has a healthier balance of how it depicts the fashion industry in this one than in the first one, if that makes sense. In the first one, it was kind
Mm.
of like this sort of like arena that Andy enters into and then ultimately decides, no, this is not what I'm about, and then steps away. This one finds like a
Hmm.
way of synthesizing her interests and her drive and personality with the fashion world in general. I just kind of like that balance that this one strikes. But what about you? What are your other non-spoiler thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of what you just said. I would just say that I think compared to the original film, the thing that
Mm-hmm.
took me out of the sequel, Devil's Wears Prada 2, it just doesn't have the same
Mm-hmm.
bite or edge to it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was intentional, the decision, I think. And, the way that we'll get into it in spoilers, but the way that the film is structured, um,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes sense. It can't have like the same bite as the first one, but like, I've been telling people that the first film, it feels like Anne Hathaway's character Andy is thrown
Mm-hmm.
into a pool of sharks, and it's just like fend for yourself, do what you want. And but then like this time, it's kind of like all the sharks just lack teeth. Like they
Mm-hmm.
just they can bite, but like there's not like any
Yeah.
blood drawn, and there's there's still a
Hmm.
lot of great quips and insults, and I think Miranda, obviously,
Yeah.
she's the main one who's like kind of more ruthless, and that's she has some great insults,
Hmm.
some great moments, but I just wanted more ruthlessness, a little bit more of a bite, I think,
Hmm.
at certain points in this movie. But the only other thing that I'll say, I think, before we dive into spoilers, is that I love, love, love the fact
Hmm.
that they went to Milan slash Italy this time instead of Paris. Nothing wrong with Paris, but I always love to see Italy and seeing
Uh-huh.
Italian spoken on screen. Like we talked about this before with like House of Gucci and some other movies that we've watched, but like it's such a beautiful country. Che bello.
Hmm.
It's wonderful. So,
Yeah.
just love that part.
But yeah, like to your point about the lack of like bite, or lesser bite than the first one, I think there's
Yeah.
there's nothing in this one that quite holds a candle to like the character introduction of Miranda from the first movie. Like that's such a well
Yes.
shot and executed like antagonist introduction, right? Like they everybody starts freaking out because they're like, oh my god, she's not supposed to be here until 11. What the hell? And they're all scrambling, running around. Stanley Tucci like yells down the hall, gird your loins.
Hmm.
And then you just have like the whole office panicking as you're cutting between that and her, and it's not showing her face until she enters her office. Like it's such a great, it's very well shot. It's just good scene construction. But I think let's hop into spoilers and then talk about the movie at large. You want to do a quick plot recap?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to do a quick plot recap. So, to synthesize, Runway, the magazine, is involved in a
Mm-hmm.
sweatshop scandal. This article breaks, and they're ensued in a scandal, and Andy Sachs has just lost her job as a
Mm-hmm.
journalist, an award-winning journalist, and Runway hires her to improve their public image through some kind of PR trickery. Andy succeeds. Trickery. I mean,
She
she did a
does a
good job,
mea culpa piece
but she
that
succeeds.
resonates with people. I think is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Mm-hmm.
does a good like profile feature piece, and it really resonates with people as well. But she succeeds and positions Miranda for a promotion. Unfortunately, the company owner Irv dies suddenly, and then his son, I forget the name of
Mm-hmm.
his son, but it's BJ Novak. He takes the reins, classic Ryan Howard style, and signals there's going to be
Uh-huh.
significant changes. Um, and in an attempt to save Runway and kind of preserve it as it is, Andy teams up with Emily, who now works at Dior
Um.
or one of the
Oh, why
other
am I blanking
kinds
on
of.
what it is?
She's
Yeah.
working retail, yeah, some
Yeah.
kind of
It's.
retail. But
Mm-hmm.
she teams up with her to buy the magazine. Um, but Emily double crosses her essentially. But fortunately, at the end of the day, Andy manages to persuade
Mm-hmm.
Lucy Liu's character to buy the parent company, and everything's fine. Status quo continues to move forward, but now Andy's got like a
Mm-hmm.
permanent job here, and Miranda, Stanley Tucci's character, everybody just kind of continues to work there except for Emily. But that we'll see what
Yeah.
happens with that.
I
If
like
anything.
this plot a lot. I think it works, and I think it's we'll talk more about it in the character stuff, but I like the evolution of this setup where it's not Andy like fighting for her life against a mean boss. It's them all sort of
Hmm.
fighting against the changing of the times and against people who are apathetic to the arts. One thing I did think was a little bit odd
Hmm.
is that initial crisis about the sweatshop is just resolved very quickly and never mentioned again. Like it's ultimately
Yeah.
fine. I think it's just serving as the kickoff point for the story, right? Like it's the reason it and Andy losing her journalism
Hmm.
job are just kind of like, okay, we need to get the pieces back on the board. This is how we're going to do it. Moving on, the story is about something else. I just think it's kind of funny that, um, like that could have
Yeah.
been sort of a rich thing to explore. Like this titan of the fashion industry got duped by a dishonest broker, and like and Miranda is someone who is like obsessed with
Yeah.
quality, and that could really, be an interesting thing to explore. They don't really explore it. It's fine. But
Yeah. Exactly. You only have so much time, and like what's
mhm,
most important to you in terms of the story. Because yeah, you're right. Like fast fashion is a big
mhm,
issue in the fashion industry and across the whole world. And it's like you could do a whole. Devil Wears Prada movie just focused on them trying to address that. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, that's not what this movie's about. This movie's about the fashion. It's not about trying to solve the actual problem. It's like
Yeah.
about the appearance and
Well, I
the
think it's
characters.
like it's not about that, but also I think with the more premier fashion brands, like the higher the quality is, of course, the higher the price is, but also
Hmm.
the less likely you are to run into these like horrifying work practices, right? Because they're boutiques, they're sort of locally
Hmm.
manufactured and designed, and so not saying these companies don't have labor problems, obviously, but it's like the if you're paying that premium dollar, you are safer, I think, in your buying, ethically speaking. I don't know. Um, but
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think like there is a difference between buying like a
mm-hmm,
Gucci handbag from that company as opposed to buying something from, yeah, TJ Maxx, because it's like Gucci, you know that
mm-hmm,
it's like Italian leather, like they're
right.
making this in Italy, like these are actually like
Mm-hmm.
craftsmen. TJ Maxx is like, yeah, I don't know, I have no idea
Right,
who's
because with
who's
the
making this.
premier brands, like the manufacturing and sort of artistic process behind it because it's a selling point. Like it's a point of pride for them,
Hmm.
so they, in theory at least, are more transparent about how it was made than something like I don't know if TJ Maxx is what they call Andy in these movies too, which is funny, but yeah, the when you
Yeah.
get like a Zara or something like that, it's or Sheen. You
Hmm.
remember the do you remember that propaganda video that Sheen made about their warehouse condition? Oh my god, it was so
I do
fucking
not
funny.
remember this.
So they get all these like fashion influencers, they fly them out to a distribution center and they give them like a
Hmm.
tour of and basically it's like, look, we're great, everything at our distribution center is great, and these influencers come in, they're like, oh my god, but no one is there working on this day, suspiciously. And then they just have the influencers like stand by the conveyor belts and like move some shirts from like bin to bin, acting like they're doing the work. And then all of these like all of these little clowns like go on their social media platforms and talk about how like great it was to go see Sheen and how like it's actually not that bad in the distribution center, and they got fucking eviscerated by people. One of them,
That's
I'll never
amazing.
forget this. Like
Oh my God.
she, her title in the video was like whatever her name was, and then confidence activist.
Confidence
Yeah,
activist?
and you know, being a little mean to these people, but I think they deserve it. They did propaganda for a sweatshop, like.
Yeah, yeah, that's not too great.
But back to the movie. Yeah, back to the movie.
Good
Let's talk about
times.
Andy's arc a little bit. Obviously, she's our protagonist once again. I really like this story for
Yes.
her. The first one ends with her applying for a job at like a small local paper, I think, and I
Hmm.
really love the way that movie ends because uh, it really sums up the nature of her dynamic with Miranda. Because the guy is like, "Oh, I called over to Ellison Clark because I saw that's where you worked, and I wanted to get sort of a reference." And then the thing Miranda sends him is like, "She was the biggest disappointment of my career, and you would be an idiot not to hire her." And which I is so it's so perfect, but I like that this story is sort of dealing with both in the fashion side of things, but also the journalism side of things, the erosion of these institutions, right? Like she is being, she's
Hmm.
part of a mass layoff of a newspaper. We're seeing that in our journalist institutions in the real world, and also we have like what Jeff
Yep.
Bezos has been doing to the Washington Post, especially. He's just like gutting the journalism department and trying to turn it into, a propaganda rag to do stuff for him, which is horrifying. But with
Yeah.
Andy specifically, like I think she has a lot more agency here, just because in the first one she's an assistant and is sort of stuck at the whims of these more powerful people. So she's more
Yeah.
come into her own at this point, but she also embraces the interest in the fashion world that I think she's always had, and leverages like both that
Hmm.
and her skill as a writer to like make a real impact at this company. And like I think you can see this synthesis for her character in her wardrobe a bit too, actually. And credit to my mom actually for pointing this out. But at the end of the movie, Andy is wearing this like cerulean sweater vest along with the rest of her outfit. And if you remember the first movie, that is the same color as the sweater she's wearing in the scene I talked about earlier, where Miranda gives her the whole fashion lecture thing. But at this point, like, and at that point, she's just
Mm,
wearing a sweater. She wasn't thinking about it. She kind of scoffs at the idea of like the nuances of fashion. But in this, though, she's taken that color
hmm
and garment and styled it more with like a full outfit, and it shows that she's kind of learned and embraced the fashion of it all, but by holding on to that piece, she's still like holding on to herself. You know, she's bringing herself into the fashion she wears, and that's like a big
hmm
sort of conflict she's dealing with in the first one, is like as she gets deeper and deeper into the fashion sort of like, you know, limelight, she kind of loses her way a little bit. And this movie, I think, is sort of, she's found her way through and found her place in this world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. She looks great in all of her outfits too throughout this
Oh,
movie too.
Anne
I'll just
Hathaway
say,
looks
but
pretty in the movie,
yeah.
Niles. Is that what you said? No shit.
Sorry, I'm just stating an
Yeah.
objective fact. I agree, though. I
Hmm.
enjoyed Andy's arc overall because, yeah, you're right that I, she has like a pretty great transition here from the first movie, and she's like in this investigative
Hmm.
journalism role, but then she transitions back into this world of fashion, and but she brings like so
Hmm.
much passion and energy to it this time around, and I really did appreciate that. I think my only critique with it is that um, at the start of the movie, she's very clearly
Hmm.
passionate about investigative journalism, passionate about
Hmm.
like telling the truth, like writing, doing the right thing here, uh, from a journalistic perspective. And she definitely brought that energy to Runway. She kind
Hmm.
of hit the ground running and with like the PR piece, and she kind of changed like some of the ways that they're talking about
Hmm.
specific topics. Like it seems like she was doing good writing, good reporting,
Hmm.
quote unquote, Runway, but I feel like the whole journalism thing got a little muddled in the story, and I think it could have been
Hmm.
even stronger. There's like even a point where she's talking to like her boyfriend in the movie, and she's like, and he's like encouraging her, like, you should go back into journalism, like do something that like, really matters and is good for the world. And she's like, yeah, maybe one day. And by the end of the movie, she's still just at Runway doing
Uh-huh.
the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Journalism is more important than ever before. It is
Hmm.
still very important. And I know that the what journalism looks like
Yep.
is changing, and uh, but a part of me wishes this was kind of a bigger
Hmm.
focus of the film. But I'm fine with it overall, and I agree. I enjoyed her
Yeah.
arc
Yeah, I agree.
overall.
It's like in the sense that we don't really get any insight into what she's writing and why it's having an impact. Um like
Yes.
I would have enjoyed a bit more of that. I get it's not what they want to focus on, and that's fine. But like how is she, like specifically how is she using her skills as a journalist to reach people in the social media environment that is still done in a way that like is meaningful? We don't really get to see that. We're just kind of told that
Yeah.
it's happening. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. It's okay overall, but yeah, it's like, what is she
Hmm.
exactly doing at the paper or this magazine? Like, I
Hmm.
have no idea,
Yeah.
but I'm just gonna trust the story is not lying to me.
Yeah. Moving to Miranda though. I think the way
hmm
she is written in this movie is probably the most interesting part about it for me. But I'll kick to you first.
No, yeah, I would agree. She's fascinating here. I just wanted to say off the top with Miranda, I just love
Hmm.
all of her outfits. Like that first dress that she's in, where she's walking on the red carpet. It's like
Hmm.
red. It's very big. It's like very puffy. It's like, oh, it's just gorgeous. And I'm just, Like I wish that dress was
Uh-huh.
around for a little longer, but all of her outfits are like impeccable. They're just gorgeous. And you know, sh- the actress, she
Hmm.
just looks amazing. Why am I blanking on her
Meryl
name
Streep.
right now? Meryl Streep. That was embarrassing. She's fantastic. I love her so much. But yes, her role
Hmm.
is different
Yeah,
in this
and
movie.
speaking of that scene though, the when they're on the red carpet, I love the way they're talking in the, present the smiling face to the public, but we're talking about really serious and bad shit right now. I love scenes like that where they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we're totally fucked, aren't we?" And it's like, "Yep, we're totally fucked."
Smile and
Smile
wave,
wave. Yeah,
boys.
but Miranda has like a new role in this film structurally. In the first one, she is the antagonist, right? She is the force that Andy has to deal with and overcome to find herself. She is not the antagonist this time around, and I found that dynamic shift very interesting. She's softened a bit, I suppose,
Hmm.
too, as a result of both age and HR complaints. Like there was so much funny stuff about her having her like claws snipped basically as a result of HR and
Yeah,
workplace harassment complaints.
yeah, that was honestly such a good bit, and like that's what we were talking
Hmm.
about earlier, right? It's like it feels like
Hmm.
she's been defanged in this movie, but it's like the justification and the way the film is structured. She's not the antagonist, so she
Hmm.
shouldn't be as mean. And like this is just it's been 20 years and
Yeah.
times have changed a little bit, but I agree. I honestly loved her interactions with her assistant. Like I'm blanking
Hmm.
on the assistant's name, but Miranda has like this line in one of their meetings where she's like talking about like
Uh-huh.
unaliving herself. Like she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna kill myself," and her sister's like, "You can't say that. Like you can't do that." But Miranda's like, "Oh, it's fine. I didn't say I'd kill everybody else yet.
I
God."
thought that was funny. I also thought it was funny when they're talking when she's like she gets the word wrong at first. She's like she calls the, I guess, more plus size models body negative at first, and she's like, wait, no, body positive. And then she's like, I get that we're doing that, but like why? she's she's
Oh, it's
just
so
such
funny. And like that's what I'm saying. Is she's got
yeah.
great quips. She's so good, and like when she's insulting and
Hmm.
ruthless, it's great, and it's like poetry. It rhymes. It feels like what we have had before, but she is kind of still
Hmm.
soft and kind of lacks that icy coolness overall. But I think that's more the writing than the
Yeah,
actor,
I
of
do I
course.
do like
You
the
know.
element where she's very clearly like pretending that she doesn't remember Andy whatsoever. It's like a very dismissive power play, but then when they're at the like house in the Hamptons and she's a little buzzed, she forgets her act and is like, I always knew you were going to do great things, and then she's like, oh, I thought you forgot I existed
Hmm.
until like a month ago. It's like, well, yeah, but I like after that, it's just really funny. And like you just know that I feel like after watching this movie, I'm like, oh, Miranda read everything she ever wrote as a journalist. Like I feel like that's the
Mm,
dynamics. Like she'll never admit it and she'll never praise her for it, but I feel like she followed her career really closely and is like very proud of her. I like their
yeah.
dynamic a lot. I like especially like the way the first film ends is so perfect too. It's like because Andy, Miranda's like everybody wants to be us after, and then Andy realizes like, yeah, I did kind of like betray my peer to get ahead, and that's not cool. And she walks away, and then Miranda's like, pissy looking at first, but then at the end they like see each other across the street and she smiles because she's like, okay, yeah, this person found their own way. I like their
Mm-hmm.
dynamic a lot. But I
Yeah.
enjoyed the evolution of this character too because like we're seeing this person who was this cold, untouchable figure in the first film, where this time around she's pursuing growth of her own. She's after a promotion, and circumstances keep getting in the way, right? Like there's the scandal, and then after they resolve that scandal, Irv fucking dies before he put it on paper. that he was going to promote her and do
Hmm.
all of this stuff. So it's like it makes um it's like she's pursuing her own goals and is being sort of confronted by her own smallness in a way that in the like 2000s era she never would be, right? I love that scene
Yeah.
towards the end when they're in Milan and she like leaves the function and is sort of standing in this atrium looking at all of the different fashion houses around her, and you can kind of see like she's sort of like mourning the beginning of the end for this like era for both her and her publication, because at
Mm.
that point it looks like it's done, right? And I just thought that was a really interesting moment. It's like this titan of this world realizing her reign is over, basically.
You're so right. And there's also like a one of the scenes that really was interesting to me. First of all, because of
Hmm.
the location where it was set, they have like this dinner or something like that. I can't remember the
Oh
exact
yeah.
event, but it's like everybody's in the
Hmm.
church where the infamous Da Vinci
Yep.
fresco is
Hmm.
the Last Supper, which, by the way, is crazy hard to get a reservation at. I know from experience because I've seen it in person, and like the school that I was at, they had someone like just fully dedicated to just
Uh-huh.
calling like 5 times a day to just try and get a reservation to
Yep.
be in there. And you could only see the fresco for like 15
Right.
minutes at a time, and then you got
Hmm.
to move on, and so the next group comes in. So that area, that location, very exclusive, very
Uh-huh.
cool too. But I love that shooting location. And um, Miranda has like this conversation with Emily's boyfriend who's going to
Hmm.
buy
Yeah.
Runway, and she's very like nostalgic, you know, in this moment. She's very like
Hmm.
sentimental. It is like, well, I hope that some things stay the same. So like just to kind of piggyback off of your point of like the fashion industry is
Hmm.
changing, and she's kind of trying being like ushered out the door very slowly, but it's like you can tell that this means the
Yeah.
world to her, and losing Runway, losing this sense of fashion is like a death
Hmm.
blow for her. But I thought that was a very human moment
Yeah,
for
I
Miranda.
think it's also fitting that the fresco in the room is the Last Supper, where Jesus addresses the
Yep,
disciples and says, you know, one of you will betray me. Um, you know, Judas, obviously. But it's like, and
yep.
I forget, is this scene before or after Andy realizes that Emily betrayed her?
Uh, it's the scene that scene comes
Okay,
before
okay.
this
So
one.
that's already happened. But I think, yeah, it's like we have a betrayal by Emily, and I guess unintentionally by Andy too. Like she's trying to do the right thing, but she ends up
Yes.
playing into Emily's hands and sort of facilitating the near
Hmm.
destruction of this magazine. Um, which I think we'll talk about it in a second with Emily, but I also like that Andy's hiring was Nigel's idea. Like that little thing at the end. It's like, yeah, it's like I was the one who made this happen. Like, you think this just randomly fell in your lap? Like,
Yeah.
I remembered you and I brought you back in. Um, I also like that when Andy mentions, it's like, oh, I'm glad you were able to put what she did to you sort of like to the wayside and maintain your relationship. And he's just like, what are you talking? Like, what do you mean? And then she's like, oh, yeah, because in the
Right.
first film, if you don't remember, when they're yeah
Yeah.
when they're
Please
in
remind me.
Paris,
Hmm.
basically Nigel gets really excited because there's this designer James Holt that they work with, and Miranda put him up for the role to like launch this new business with James Holt, right? And he's like really excited about it. Um, but then it becomes clear over the next bit of the movie that someone's trying to replace Miranda with someone from a different part of Ellison Clark or something, and who's cheaper and not as good
Hmm.
at the job really. And what Miranda does to
Right.
save herself is she recommends that person to partner with James Holt and just sort of screws Nigel out of
Oh.
the thing. It's like that's the moment where, because like over the course of the movie, Andy is sort of like growing to like and respect Miranda a lot more, and then that action is sort of what snaps her back out of that, because she's like, oh, this person
Mm-hmm.
is cold and will throw anybody to the wayside to get what she wants. But I
Yeah.
like the way it's handled here because Nigel is he barely even remembers it at first, and he's like, oh, she's done that a million
Yeah.
times since then. It's but it's very sad because he's the character who has made the fewest steps and changes in the time between movies, but it also sets up nicely for the moment where she actually like realizes with Andy's help, it's like, dude, you've been taking this guy for granted for so long. He's so loyal and he's so good. You gotta like put him in the spotlight. And her willingness to sort of give him the reins at the end is what allows them to save the company. So I liked that, you know.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I thought that was a really nice
Hmm.
detail to throw in there with Nigel. And uh, I don't really remember their relationship like Nigel and
Hmm.
Andy's relationship in the first
Hmm.
film, but like in this one, they feel like
Yeah. Hmm.
BFFs. You know, they just feel like friends who haven't seen each other in forever, and they just pick right back up where they left off. And it's heartwarming. I like the chemistry
Hmm.
that they have as friends in
Yeah,
this
in
movie.
the first one, he's kind of like he's very like skeptical and sort of mean girly to her at first, but she kind of like
Hmm.
reaches out to him and engages with him, and then when she's actually like starting to put in effort for the job, she goes to him and he helps her style her wardrobe basically so she can start to fall into sync with the world she's in there. So he
Right.
he does a similar thing in this movie, but like to a much more casual degree. One thing I thought was odd is that
Hmm.
like she gets that dress to go to the Hamptons, right? And then he's like, be very careful with this, not even a single stain, do not spill anything on it. And then she does, and then just washes it off and it's never mentioned again. So
Hmm.
there are a
Yeah.
couple little things like that where it's like maybe that was a thing in the edit, or it just like wasn't
Yeah.
important enough to keep the consequences of that. It was just like an odd inclusion to not do anything with, but it's fine. It's a very minor quibble.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's probably a deleted scene, and they're like, we don't
Mhm.
need that one.
Yeah,
Just move on, because the important thing is that it gets her in the kitchen
right.
with Miranda, and
Exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
conversation they need to have.
I also thought Emily's new role in this movie was really interesting. She serves
Hmm.
as sort of the surprise antagonist this time, right? She tricks Andy into facilitating Runway's sale to Benji for her benefit. She wants to run Runway, but also I think maybe she doesn't have as much control of the situation as she thought either, because once that's happening, he starts talking about how he wants to make it more like AI and all this other crap, and she's like, "Well, wait, hold on." Like, I still want to do this. But the other part that I found interesting is she, as an advertiser, through Dior, I think, for most of the movie, and then she's at Coach at the
Yeah.
end. Um, she has more agency as well and power over Miranda in some ways. Like she has to be appeased after the fast fashion, sweatshop
Hmm.
scandal. Like Miranda and Nigel are kind of at her mercy a little bit and have to give her concessions in order for her to maintain the brand relationship. It's like this, but for specifically for her, but also in general, just like I enjoyed how the main character dynamics have shifted a lot in between films, and this is true for all four of our main people here. Like they interact very differently than they did in the
Hmm.
first one, and that makes the sequel sort of feel less dry than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, I would agree. It was a character dynamic that I wasn't really
Mm.
expecting, and I think it works very well. And yeah, Emily's. I don't remember much of her from the original film, but yeah, it was interesting to see her kind of in a role that was not part of the Runway
Yeah,
brand, like something
she's
different.
like the
Um,
secretary number one to Andy's secretary number two, or assistant number one. She's kind.
right.
She's like mean and a secondary antagonist, I would say, in the first movie, but they
Yeah.
eventually start. But then Andy starts like sort of outperforming her in a lot of ways and sort of supplanting her, and then um, sort of like gets to go to Paris instead of her, and that's a big betrayal Um,
Right.
and like when Andy confronts Miranda about what she does to Nigel in the first movie, she's like, I would never do that to someone. And she's like, you already did. You did it to Emily. Like you, and that's what sort of snaps her out of it. It's like, oh, I became too much like this person and I need to leave. That's the thing that makes her step away finally. But I like the touch in this one too. At the very end, you find out that Emily tried to reach out, like she wanted to be friends afterward, and it just the call didn't connect properly or something. I don't know. But
Well, isn't there like a bit at the end of the first movie where she's getting a phone call and she throws it into like a water fountain or something like that? Or am I misremembering?
uh,
Maybe that's a
I don't
different
remember.
movie.
She calls Emily at the end of the first movie because she's like, well, I have all these clothes from Paris and I have nothing. I have nowhere to wear them, so I need you to do me a favor and take them for you.
All
it's it's funny
right.
moment, but yeah, I want to talk about themes a little bit too. So I think this movie hits on
Yes.
something that we definitely feel, like being big fans of film and television, being content creators ourselves, like this sort of the theme of trying to maintain the integrity of the arts, in this movie's case of fashion and journalistic writing, in the face of
Hmm.
corporate consolidations, layoff culture, and AI evangelists. Ugh. Like while the theme, I think it's a bit heavy-handed, maybe it's an interesting and relevant focus for this movie to have, and I think it presents a really organic reason for Andy and Miranda to find themselves more on the same team as the things they love are being like actively eroded by these shallow businessmen. Always nice to see
Hmm.
Mackenzie get shit on. Like, like, we all know that we all know the corporate memes, right? It's like, oh, something's wrong with our company. We don't have these efficiencies. Something. How do we fix these problems? It's like every employee is like, ask us, we can tell you, we can tell you. It's like, what if we spend $250 million to bring in outside consultants? And the outside consultants come in, they're like, you need to do some layoffs and implement AI. And it's like, that will be $250 million, please. It's like, okay, thank you. Now we're $250 million in the hole. We lay off half our workforce and we implement AI that doesn't fucking work. And then we're still in the same problem. And McKinsey's fucked off with their money and it's over. Like that's happening all over the place.
Hmm. Yeah, right. It's like if you want to actually know what's wrong with your company, talk to the people who work at your
Mm-hmm.
company. Don't seek an outside consultant
Yeah.
perspective. So I agree with you. It's always nice to see those guys get shit
Mm-hmm.
on. All of Ryan Howard's folks that he brings in to Runway.
Yeah.
I know the character has a name, but I'm never gonna think of BJ Novak in any other role as just Ryan Howard. That is just his
Yeah.
name. Ever since The Office,
Yeah.
nothing
He's
else.
Irv Jr., I guess. But he comes in and it's like, and God, you know he's gonna be annoying as shit. Like when he shows up because his dad was like, old school business guy, probably not awesome either. But um, he rolls in like his track suit, and he's got does he have like an earpiece in too? He's like one of those guys. It's like, oh
Yep.
God.
It's Tony. We got to get those numbers up. Just on a call. But yeah, I think that some of the themes that you just hit on, um, I totally vibe with
Hmm.
that, and it's such a fascinating perspective in this movie too. What I really focused on was like how media
Hmm.
has changed and the ways we've interacted with media have changed as well. Like, I mean, it sounds very obvious because yes, things change over time, but like the first movie came out in
Hmm.
2006, and this is 20 years later, 2026,
28
and
years later.
things are just 20 years, 2 decades, like fraction of like a
Hmm.
century. Like such little time realistically has passed, but so much has
Hmm.
changed. And like, if you look at the original 2006 movie, um, you know, I was a kid at the time, um, of course, but
Hmm.
magazines were incredibly popular. I remember in school being like, for fundraisers, trying to get magazine
Mm-hmm.
subscriptions to people. Like that was such a big thing. I don't think I see that as much these
Yeah.
days, but like magazines, that was like very popular form of media and is a mainstay of the fashion
Mm-hmm.
industry. But fast forward to 2026 and things are completely different. Like virtually all of those magazines that were like in every single beauty salon across the country that people read religiously, all those magazines from that era, if they are still around today, have been forced to
Mm-hmm.
transform. They have shifted away from print media and have focused almost entirely on
Mm-hmm.
digital. So things are just different. Like nowadays, most people, I would say, um, don't want to read multi-page articles about
Mm-hmm.
fashion and design, right? They want to digest content quickly and through visual formats. Like it's style over substance these
Mm-hmm.
days in a way. And is that a problem? Not necessarily, but it's kind of a new, painful reality that we all have to
Mm-hmm.
accept and just kind of swallow. And there's upsides and there's downsides to it.
Yeah, well, I think it even goes a step beyond that, because in the era when the first movie came out, obviously the internet was around and blowing up, but we were still in the web
Hmm.
1.0 era, right? Like where a publication like a Runway could still like focus on their magazine or their magazine, their website, and have the same type of articles and stuff that they would normally write just
Hmm.
digitally. But we, like, the 20 years in between these two movies have been so transformative in the way that we engage with media. It's like we have even left behind the website at this point. Now we're in social media, the algorithm. And it's
Hmm.
like there's something sad about that change, honestly, and that's something we've talked about off air with how we want to do like our media and stuff like that to the best we can, but the best extent we can. But like having a full publication, I'm sure, like allows for much more insightful and diverse types of writing to exist, because it's part of this greater whole that someone has purchased and brought home, right? Like you bought the magazine, you're going to read the fucking magazine even if you're not interested in
Hmm.
everything in it, and you may not read every article, but your interest in one article allows you to maybe check out that other one a little bit further back in the book, right? Just because it's already
Hmm.
there, so why not? Now, like as mentioned in the movie, it's about generating social media traffic and clicks. You need to get those, and we see this in our media landscape today. It creates more sensationalized headlines. It creates people just being completely dishonest. Honestly, you also have
Hmm.
AI generated slop in the mix as well, both for purposes of propaganda and also just uncreative people flooding the zone, basically. Um, so it's a totally different ecosystem, and a publication like a Runway is going to have a much harder time maintaining like enough return to exist, basically, because the
Yeah.
landscape has changed so much.
Yeah, it's completely changed. And yeah, there's like even a point in this movie where they're in a
Mm-hmm.
meeting and Andy interrupts what's happening because she's like, she wants Miranda to know that article she wrote to like
Mm-hmm.
quell the big crisis for Runway. It's like it did great. Like people have like there's been many publications who have taken that article and republished it
Mm-hmm.
on their website. Like this story is getting out there and it's great. And she's like Miranda says that's fantastic, but like what do the analytics look
Mm-hmm.
like? What do the clicks look like? Do people actually get to the bottom of the article? Like are they actually paying attention? It's like no, they're not
Yeah.
because it's just a PR move and it's like it's important, but like that's not what is important for Runway overall.
Mm-hmm.
They need more traffic, they need more clicks, they need more engagement. That's what they're really interested
Yeah.
in.
But it's like hearing that character talk about marketing analytics felt so depressing to me. And I'm
Yes.
like, no, you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care about this. You are like, but the era of being able to not care about that is over. Unfortunately, it's a bummer. It's like someone of that like caliber of artistry should not have to think about you know digital analytics, but they do, because that's the world of
Hmm.
business today.
Yeah. and like they should just be focused on like what is important to them, like what they're passionate about, not thinking about like, oh, engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, will someone actually click on this? It's like, no, I should create the content that I want to
Mm-hmm.
create and not worry about will it attract eyes. But that's the era we live in,
Yeah.
unfortunately. You need to be thinking about both.
Yeah. You want to transition into some of the gripes you got with the movie?
Yes, yes. And as we talk about these gripes, I want to emphasize that these are very minimal. They don't really detract from the viewing experience overall. I think like the first thing that really stood out to me
Mm-hmm.
was just product placement felt very obvious to me in this movie
Okay.
and kind of more on the nose than the original. Again, I haven't seen the original in years,
Mm-hmm.
so please correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, but I don't remember seeing many brands and products featured in that film as much as the second one. I know that you have things like Prada,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, that's like the big title tag, and you have all these fashion brands that are involved, like Dior and whatnot. But I saw a lot of Diet Coke, I saw Ally,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Starbucks. I just feel like it was just kind of everywhere. But maybe I'm misremembering the first one.
I I'm not the right person to ask because I honestly don't notice product placement as much as I'm not as aware of it as I probably should be, which maybe is kind of funny. But like for movies that take place like in our world and in these settings, I don't notice the products as much like when it's a Coca-Cola or a Starbucks or I mean the fashion
Mhm.
brands in this one obviously like it would be weird if they're not there.
Right.
But it's yeah, sometimes it's distracting for me. It was not for me in this one, but I do get when you notice it, you really notice it, and it's like, oh god, it's just lingering on this Coke can.
Honestly, though, I feel like there was a lot of time of just like, here's Anne Hathaway working late at night.
Mm,
Coke
yeah.
can, Coke can, like,
Hmm.
uh, or whatever. It's not a huge deal, but it segues into my other gripe. Again, very minor, and this is about capitalism. Da, da,
Yeah.
da, da. Everyone's favorite talking point. And again, I haven't seen the first film in years,
Hmm.
but it's my recollection that the original had more of this commentary about the crazy, outrageous work
Hmm.
demands of a hyper capitalist society, which is what we live in. Andy, um, especially, she's on the beck and call of Miranda
Hmm.
in the original, and it destroys her personal life, and she struggles to keep up with
Yeah.
everything. I feel like this sequel is not really in that same vein.
Hmm.
Like it's similar, it's like tangential, but it's kind of more. I was getting a vibe of like anti-corporation or anti-private equity,
Hmm.
anti-consolidation, like commentary on that. And I feel like there is so much excess in this film as well that I feel like it is trying to encourage us to consume more and more.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but that's just kind of how I was uh, viewing it. And at the same time, things change. And just because
Hmm.
the first film had one commentary or angle, that does not mean the sequel needs to follow suit. It can be kind of its own thing.
Yeah, I think it's there the movies are just approaching it with two different flavors of criticism. One, I mean, the
Hmm.
first movie is based on a book as well, and I think the book is uh I don't remember. I don't know what the book is based on, if it's based on someone's experiences or not, actually. But I should have looked that up. But that one is tackling it more in and it's something we saw a lot of in that era. Like we even see it in Elf, right? Like it's about the job sort of destroying you because you have like a shitty boss. Like it's a
Hmm.
more personal critique of corporate life where it's like the shitty person at the top is just taking advantage of their underling, right? And sort of abusing them on a individual level. This one is focusing more on these like larger forces led by um like sort of industry outsiders coming in to disrupt, and they're really eroding these institutions like fashion houses, journalism,
Right.
newspapers. movie studios as well. Like we're seeing it in Hollywood a lot, right? Like the in the era of streaming, like a lot of the people heading up studios now are getting themselves in positions of power are fucking tech people. They're tech people trying to like maximize viewership metrics and minimize cost.
Hmm.
And that's where we're getting all this like AI crap and a bunch of like and less movies overall, less types of movies. Like we've talked about this on the show before, but like a studio slate used to have a couple big budget movies, a bunch of mid budgets, and then the lower budget ones. And not everything had to make money. You just needed a couple of them to really blow up, and then that carried you for the rest of the year. And so you could afford to take risks on these more niche projects that might not make money or may see second life on home video, right? As those markets changed and like the rise of stuff like Marvel, where everything's making $1 billion, the mindset of the studio executives changed. Where like, well, everything needs to be at this level. Everything has to make like
Hmm.
800 to 1.2 billion dollars, or it's a financial failure because we're putting so much money into it, right? And I think that like the film industry is tangential to the industries of this movie, but it's all tying together. Like these trends are happening everywhere in every creative field, I feel like. And
Yeah.
that's the criticism of capitalism that the sequel is focusing on more than the inner office politics type, I think.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that. I think that does very much put it in the spotlight
Mm-hmm.
and recontextualizes it. So thank you. I think one of the other gripes that I had in this movie, I'm curious if you would agree with this, Doug, is the love interest, the romantic interest in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Andy meets this Australian construction contractor and they start dating.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit it off, and I think he is a good match for her character overall. Like she needs someone who's like steady and stable,
Mm-hmm.
understanding, um, has emotional maturity, which it's very clear that he does.
Yeah.
But I think the romantic interest is just a little weak
Mm-hmm.
to me, and I wasn't very interested in their chemistry.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I feel like at a point too, it kind of felt more like a one-sided relationship, kind of a selfish relationship in a way too. Like there's like a point where and he's like talking to him about how Runway
Mm-hmm.
is going to be gutted by Ryan Howard, and he's like trying to comfort her,
Mm-hmm.
like by telling her about like something going on in his life, kind of developing some sympathy for her, and she cuts him off and is like, "We're not talking about you right now. We're talking about me," and it's like. I would be kind of pissed if someone said that to me, but I'm like, I don't, I didn't really like the relationship a ton, and I'm not even sure how necessary it was for the film. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think the element, this like whole storyline was really necessary for the movie. It does feel a little tacked on, and I also think like they they're like very nice together, but I agree there's not like this like romantic pull that I feel between them
Hmm.
necessarily. Um, but I will say I liked him more than I liked the love interest in the first movie. Like, so
Yes, he's better than that guy.
yeah, he's better than Aquaman from Entourage. But the, but I think like one thing I do like about him though is I think he represents an interesting contrast to Emily's love interest, Benji, because
Mm,
Benji is this like he's uninterested in preserving any of the artistry whatsoever. He wants to replace things with AI and just like offload everything to like tech and automation, right? Whereas Peter is his name, the contractor. When they first meet, she's touring this apartment, right? Like it's an old, beautiful building, and the inside has been renovated, and that's sort of playing on the idea of like what we talked about was social media and the change from the magazine format to the digital
yeah,
format. Um, and she kind of, without realizing he's the contractor who did it, kind of shitting on it. It's like, oh, it just sucks when they take these like beautiful old buildings and just strip them of any personality or whatever. And he kind of pushes back a bit, and it's like, look, I like the old interior here, like it was unlivable. It had to be redone, and I did my best to like preserve the integrity of the artistry and like bring my own flavor to it. So I think he is sort of the inverse of Benji, where he appreciates
Yeah.
the beauty in it all and is doing his best to make sure that remains, even if it has to be changed. So that's one part about him that I did like, actually.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I like
Mm-hmm.
that. And this isn't a gripe for me. I've just seen people complaining about it
Mm-hmm.
online a lot, like on Reddit and everything.
Yeah.
It's just there's a lot of people complaining about the cinematography and the lighting
Mm-hmm.
in this movie, and like I feel like there's people who feel that you switch from film to digital, you switch from like these old kind of inefficient these old lighting systems to like
Mm-hmm.
LEDs that are maybe a little bit more efficient,
Yeah.
and it kind of does change the appearance of the films a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. And I think you can see it in a lot of modern sequels. Like I remember seeing a lot of people complaining about the same thing on like the Freaky Friday sequel
Mm-hmm.
and how it just looked incredibly different from the original.
Looks
And
flat compared.
I didn't think it was a big issue for me personally. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of okay with it. But I'm curious about your thoughts there too.
Yeah, I mean, like, it did not actively bother me in the movie, but it is, I do think it's noticeable, and it
Mhm.
is something we see a lot in more modern films. And
Yeah.
as you were talking about with the lights, the reason I have seen most often cited for this change is that back in the day, I think they were phosphorus bulbs. Is that right? The more
I think so. Something like that.
okay, let's run with that. If I'm wrong, audience, sorry. But like,
Mhm.
if you remember back when we were kids, and you'd be like out late at night on the street, right? There was this like golden glow from all the street lights and everything like that. And now the lights are this like colder, like blue white, right? That is a result of the switch to LEDs, because LED lights are more energy efficient. But they do cast a flatter light, a colder, more flat
Yeah.
light, and and I get, like, we still have movies coming out that are lit wonderfully and look amazing and vibrant, right? But I guess it just takes more effort and intentionality to use those lights properly to get that really like vibrant color contrast that we see in a lot of older films, because
Yeah.
in part, and I guess it's the same with the switch from film to digital. Like, digital cameras by default have a flatter image quality because it's meant to capture as much visual information up front as possible. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to edit the footage and
Yeah.
tweak the settings to bring that color up in places. And a lot of studios, I guess, are just cutting corners on that, or people have lost the skill set to do that. Patrick H. Willems on YouTube has a great video from like ages ago now about it's the like why do Marvel movies look so gray video, I think. And he talks about that a
Right.
lot, where it's like digital cinematography requires you to put more effort in for color correction and other adjustments on the back end, and some of the big
Oh
studios
yeah.
just don't care. So I think that's
Hmm.
part of what it is.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. But I honestly didn't mind the look of this movie. I thought it looked fine
Yeah, I
for what
thought it
it
looked
was.
fine too.
Yeah. And I will say, transitioning to something that's a little more cheerful than the gripes, is the fashion icon
Mm-hmm.
cameos. And we see a lot of designers and models featured in this movie. Some LGBTQ representation as well, people notable in those fields. And I can't recognize all the cameos in this film because, again, I'm not as dialed in to the fashion industry. But mainly thanks to my adoration of RuPaul's Drag Race, I've
Mm-hmm.
noticed many cool cameos in this movie. There
Mm-hmm.
was Law Roach, Heidi Klum was there. They made some brief appearances. People like Donatella Versace also showed up, and Lady Gaga obviously
Mm-hmm.
too. And there was also the new assistant, the male. His name's Caleb Heron,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of blowing up too.
He's really funny.
Kind of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's hilarious.
I've seen him on
He's so
like
great.
TikTok and some podcasts. He's really fucking funny. And I think he was a good
Yeah.
addition. I love the thing where she's like, "Oh, you're waiting for the book. Don't take it upstairs." And he's like, "Oh, who would be stupid enough to do that?" And she's like, "Nobody, definitely not me." Uh, yeah. With Lady Gaga too, I love that it's not elaborated on, but she and Miranda have like serious beef over something, and it was like a very it was something that Miranda really didn't want to do, to call her. Like, she's like, "Oh God, fine." And then when she walks into the dressing room, she's like, "Gaga." I thought was really funny.
Yeah, they had a great interaction. It's like, oh, yeah, I had to come. She's like, no, you didn't. It's like, yeah, you told me I had to, or else I would never like get a cover again. And it's
And
like, oh, that doesn't sound like us.
yeah, well, no, because she said Nigel said I would never get a cover again. She's like, "Oh, that doesn't sound like him." She's like, "Yeah, it doesn't." I know.
It sounds like you, Marin. Um, yeah, there's lots of great little cameos, and
Hmm.
there was a part of me was expecting to see RuPaul there, but he's not featured in this film. So maybe the sequel to the sequel will be
Yeah, I guess like this is just my own ignorance, but how like integrated is the like drag entertainment industry with like old school mainstream fashion? Like, is it
yeah, that's a
a
good
really
question.
like merged part of it now, or is it sort of seen as its own separate art form?
I mean, I think it's probably more of the kind of more of its own art form, but
Hmm.
like it to me, drag feels very synonymous with fashion
Hmm.
these days, and just like RuPaul's Drag Race has just blown up from like this, tiny little reality TV show into this like multi country franchise with lots of different spin-offs, and it's like
Hmm.
it's just huge now, and like I think drag as an art form is just becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And when I think of fashion, personally, I think of drag. I think of drag queens wearing just like the most outrageous fucking outfits, big hair,
Hmm.
just crazy makeup. Like, so maybe it's just kind of more of a personal thing right
Hmm.
now, is that for me, it feels more fashion than, some models walking down a
Hmm.
runway for Dior or something like
Okay.
that. But that's honestly, again, I think
Yeah.
that's just more my opinion.
Yeah. RuPaul pissed me off this week. Actually, I saw him.
Oh
He
no.
he he. So he was like being interviewed in something, and he was like basically like, "Look, what are you gonna do? The fascist won. All we can do is throw our hands up and party. It's over." And it's like, that's not. Nope. That's not.
Rue,
That's
you're better than that, Rue.
yeah. That's a very privileged perspective, and we can do better. We can do better than
Yeah.
that. You gotta fight with everything we have. But whatever. I respect the vision of the drag race. I think it's a great entertainment product.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, RuPaul.
Yeah.
Yeah. RuPaul's had crazy, said some weird things over the years, but yeah.
Everybody has their moments, but get your shit
Hmm.
together. But
Exactly.
I like the way they resolve this too. They the way they save Runway and maintain its sort of integrity is um Miranda sort of goes and like runs, cover on the image front while she's going to all the like whatever shows, basically maintaining the public face while Andy is just like getting on calls and trying to make shit happen. And it turns out they are getting back in touch with Lucy Liu's character, whose name I forget, but she was like this icon who was previously married to Benji, Emily's new boyfriend, and she got this like white whale interview for Miranda earlier in the
Right.
movie. And I like how they come up with this idea to sort of save the business from Benji. And I also think it's like earlier when they're interviewing her, she makes a comments like, you haven't mentioned my ex-husband at all. And then Miranda's like, why would I? Like, you aren't
Yeah.
defined by this person. And
Hmm.
I think the reason things work out for them here is because of that, because they conduct this incredibly respectful interview with this pretty reclusive person earlier on and sort of like earn her goodwill in that moment. And then at the end, she gives them like hands off, full creative control and autonomy. Y'all do your thing.
Hmm.
I think it worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah, I thought it was a great way to end it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm satisfied with it. And I like to see Lucy Liu from time to time in movies. You know, she's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also liked in the car ride with Miranda and Andy at the very end, because Andy is like toying with this idea of writing this like tell-all book about Miranda and publishing it through her
Hmm.
friend's company, and she's weighing whether or not she wants to do that. And at the end, Miranda is like, "I think you should still write it." Like, yeah, I knew about it the whole time, and I thought that was an interesting moment, especially in a moment of vulnerability too, because she's like, and you should keep in all of the salacious stuff about all the things I've missed and the things I do wrong. It's like, because people should know, like, if you're gonna live this life, that's what it takes to do.
Hmm.
And I think Miranda is like still in a lot of ways like a kind of a toxic person, but I like that level of self-awareness where it's like, I missed out on a lot of things, but I love what I do. And
Hmm.
that's like, it's I really like where their relationship concludes over the course of these two movies. And I like that last little shot pulling out from the building and you see all three of their offices lined up next to each other. I thought it was really sweet.
I agree. It was a very sweet ending. It felt endearing, and
Mm-hmm.
all the characters were together at the end. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Any
Good
final
times.
thoughts on Devil Wears Prada 2?
Uh, no, I don't think so. But I enjoyed it. I think
Yeah.
a lot of other people will enjoy it. I've seen like a lot of mixed reviews online, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
no sequel is perfect, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think if you enjoy the first movie, you'll like this. And I think both movies are generally pretty enjoyable and easy recommendations to make. It's kind of
Absolutely.
hard
Yeah.
to dislike them. But with that, let's transition into some other stuff, just things we've been watching, reading, playing, etc. Niles, what have you been looking at the last couple weeks?
So I've been continuing on with my rewatch of Mad Men. I'm now in season 5, so we're
Mm-hmm.
about almost at 2/3 of the way through, and it's still good. It's still fascinating, and yeah, it is quite a different landscape
Mm-hmm.
than what it was when first started the show, and now we're kind of getting into the civil rights era.
Okay.
And we finally have like our first um, black secretary on the show, and it's like, thank God, let's get some more representation in the show,
Yeah.
please. So I'm happy about it, but it's a great show. I love it. I need to finish The Boys. I haven't really progressed. I need to watch the final two episodes, but very excited about those. And then I actually watched um, a, a movie that's I don't think is very popular or was very popular at the time, but the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard that movie get shit on relentlessly.
yeah, it does. Because like I've always liked the found footage original Cloverfield
Mm-hmm.
movie. Like I think that's just a fun monster movie, and
Yeah.
the found footage perspective, I do like found footage movies. I think they're creepy and they're fun.
Mm-hmm.
They really lend themselves well to like this horror perspective, like this terror, this thriller.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there's like the Cloverfield Paradox, and then there's 21 Cloverfield Lane. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to watch both of those movies for a while. I still need to watch the Lane one, but the Paradox I watched, and it's it's good, but it's kind of confusing, and it has some odd elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I liked it. You know, I think
Okay.
it does provide a little more context around like where did this monster come from in the original movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of ties that together of like, okay, now we have an explainer there, but there's some very interesting things that are done with like kind of like time travel or just like
Yeah.
dimension hopping stuff. It's fascinating
My
to me.
my understanding of both 10 Cloverfield Lane and this movie
Hmm.
So both Cloverfield spin-offs that exist, neither of them were made as Cloverfield movies. Then they were acquired and then retrofitted to be part of the Cloverfield universe, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, because like I haven't seen any of them actually. I want to watch
Ooh,
Cloverfield and I want to watch 10 Cloverfield Lane, especially because I've heard that one's like really, really good. It's just there's like this stuff happening in the bunker, and then at the end it connects to Cloverfield, and everybody's like, it feels like two separate movies. But I don't know, I can't speak to that. But
yeah.
that's such
There.
an
Well, yeah.
odd
There's.
franchise structure. It's like just we made
It
this
is.
one movie, and then we're gonna pick up all these other finished movies and put a Cloverfield monster in them.
We're gonna have a very disconnected monster universe franchise.
Mhm,
It is kind of confusing because yeah, like I'll spoil the Paradox movie for you.
mhm,
Just kind of the thing. So it's like they're just like there's an energy crisis on Earth. Doesn't that
mhm,
feel familiar?
mhm,
And their solution to it is to take like the particle accelerator and take it up into orbit,
mhm,
where they can build an even bigger version, and then it can create free energy for people. Basically, something goes wrong, and they get
mhm.
teleported to like a new dimension, and then they have to do it again to come back. But it opens up like these rifts, basically,
Yeah.
like between dimensions, and so that's what brings the monster into our world. So the monster from the original Cloverfield movie, completely unrelated until like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. And doesn't the movie end with a shot of like above clouds and then the monster's like
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
uh, uh,
Anyways, what have you been up to?
yeah. Continuing reading The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I really love it. It's so far it seems like sort of a picaresque in a way where has different story arcs with different characters in each place. Like and about 250 pages in, the main character has gone through like the first stage of his life, and then he spends several years in this city as a beggar. And I've just finished that section, and now he's like going to this magic university thing. Um, but the world of the story is so interesting, and the whole like narrative is being told by this character uh, from a later point in his life. Like he's sitting down with this guy called the Chronicler, and he's sort of
Mm.
recounting his life of what led him to this inn, basically. So I'm
Mm.
really curious to see where it all goes. I have to be somewhat slow with it though because he hasn't finished the trilogy, and I know I don't want to be. I don't want to be in another Song of Ice and Fire situation where I'm just in a holding pattern waiting for years.
And then the
But
show gets ahead of the books.
yeah, this one does not have a TV show adaptation yet, so
Yet.
won't be yet. um, but also continuing on with For All Mankind, season 5 on Apple. Um, Season is starting to come to a close. It's This is probably like the strangest season of the show, I would say, but I still really like it. And what we're seeing now is like the arc this time around is there are people who were like born on the Mars colony and have lived their whole lives there, and now they're kind of like trying to get some sort of representation and autonomy from Earth. Basically,
Mm.
they're holding this like mining operation hostage, which is crippling the economy on Earth. But Earth is withholding food from the Mars colony, so
Ooh.
they are trying like they're in conflict with each other because at this point it's like yeah, people just and a big part of the season too is like there's they find some internal documentation that there's an intent to just automate the entire Mars operation and move all of the people who live there back to Earth. And they're like, what the fuck? This is our home. You can't do this to us. That's messed up.
Hmm.
So there's like a protest against the like Mars cops and stuff like that. It's a wild season. It's come a
Wow.
long way from being a space race show set in the 50s. It's
Now it's
uh
labor rights in space.
yeah, last season was about labor rights a lot too. Like the characters went on strike for a decent portion of it. But yeah, I also finished The Boys season 5. I will not spoil it, and we'll talk about it next episode as our main topic. But like high level, I'm satisfied. I think it stuck the landing. Most of the complaints I have seen about it are really dumb, like really,
Yeah.
really dumb. And I have a couple complaints myself, but I'll save those for the actual episode. But I'm satisfied where all the characters ended up. It has an appropriate level of finality to me. That was the main thing I was worried about, considering they have all the spinoffs they want to do. Right?
Hmm.
I feel like it could have been more definitive, but I'm also, you know, I'm not left annoyed at how the story ended. So kudos to them on that.
Yeah.
How far into the season are you? How many episodes do you have
I've
left?
just got the last 2 episodes to go.
Oh,
Just got
okay,
two
okay. You got the
episodes.
last like arc base. Okay. Um, Also, and this I guess calls back to one of our earliest episodes on the show. I went to see Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh my god.
Mortal Kombat. um, this one, it's fine. It's fun.
It's what you expect it to be.
Yeah, it has Carl Urban. This time he comes in. He's Johnny Cage, one of the main characters from the games.
Love
Do you
it.
care if I spoil some stuff about this?
Go for
Okay.
it.
I would say similar to the first one. It has the stuff you came here for. I don't think it's a great movie, but it is a good time and it's pretty funny. The best part is there is an action scene from, because Johnny Cage is like a 90s style action movie star, and there is one scene from like one of his movies, like in universe movies that you see, and it's like a fight scene, and it's just like a really cornball, like over the top 90s action fight, and it's very funny and very well done. um
Cool.
but you know, the the main character of the first movie is you know, the guy who has like the weird armor and who wasn't a character in the game, or games. Cole Young was his name.
Oh yeah, kind of.
I mean, we watched this movie 5 years ago.
It's
It's
been
fine.
a while. Yeah.
But he has like 5 lines of dialogue, and then the villain smashes his head with a hammer.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, it was fun enough.
Good
It's
time.
yeah, I like Carl Urban in it a lot. He kind of gets like shanghaied into this tournament. He's like Raiden them go to him. It's like, we need you to be a champion of Earthrealm. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No. And then he just gets like magically teleported into the tournament anyway. He's just at a bar drinking, and then he gets pulled away and has to fight to the death with someone. It's so funny. Um
And he's like, I'm a movie star. What do you want me to do?
yeah. Um yeah, I think he says in a line, it's like, all of you guys have powers. My only power is like being incredibly handsome or something like that.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. I also went to see the movie Obsession.
Mm.
Everybody should go see Obsession. It's amazing. Indy Navarrete is the main girl in it, probably a career launching performance. Like, she was on a supporting role on Superman and Lois on the CW. She was
Oh,
good in that, but it's like, it's kind of a, you know, she's like one of Clark and Lois's kids' love interest. Like, it's not a role that gives a whole lot of stuff to do. But the way she moves and operates in this movie is fucking incredible. Everybody in it is great, by the way. But do you know the premise of it at all?
yes, yes, I do.
Okay.
Mhm.
For the audience though, it's like, basically there's this guy. His name's Bear. He's sort of socially inept in when it comes to romance and stuff like that. He has this huge crush on this girl Nikki, and he gets a little toy. It's called One Wish Willow. You break it and you make a wish. Um, and he makes a wish for her to love him. He uses a very poor choice of words as well, like a very aggressive way to say it, because he just can't bring himself to ask her out like a normal person. And you know, his wish comes true, but maybe not in the way he wants it to. And also maybe like, you know, she becomes very obsessed with him, but maybe her obsession is not the one the title is referring to. It's
Mm-hmm.
it is a mean movie. It is
Ugh.
very creepy and very sad, and it is a must-see thing. Also, it was made for less than $1 million, and it's on track to break 100 million. Um,
Wow,
so
that's
it's
incredible.
a yeah, it's blowing up, and it is worth seeing for sure. Um, I also saw The Mandalorian and Grogu.
How was that?
So you know how we've talked about how all the trailers are just like what's the hook? Why it just like why does it
Yeah,
look like what are they hiding, that makes this a movie? Um Nothing. The reason the trailers look like it's nothing more than a bit more of the TV show is because that's what it is. It's
yeah, that was my
I
impression.
genuinely baffling. Um the music is great. It's Ludwig Göransson,
Yeah,
who did he did Oppenheimer's music amongst other things. Um, the puppet is cute. He
of
runs
course.
around. He makes little noises. He eats the cookies. Um,
I like
other than
that.
that, this is barely a movie. It's I almost fell asleep in the theater. It's
This isn't good.
No, it's dreadfully dull. Does the Mandalorian have a character arc? No, not really. Does Grogu have much of one? A little bit. Um, does Rada the Hutt have an arc? Kind of, not really, but kind of. Does do all the Hutts just speak in normal human voices in English? Yes. Um,
What?
yeah.
That's odd.
Uh, Sigourney Weaver is there. Zeb is there. Um, that
Wow.
bounty hunter with the round hat from the cartoons is there,
Hmm.
and it genuinely bear with me. The Rise of Skywalker is a fucking offensive movie. I hate it. Um,
Agreed.
it is an incredibly well made movie. The craftsmanship is undeniable. We have talked about it in our Rewind episode. Um, and it was bad because it fucked up sticking the landing of an otherwise good trilogy. This is bad in a way where like I don't know what the fuck they were thinking releasing this. It's embarrassing.
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
it's and I what I'm starting to realize is Dave Filoni is a what I will call a custodian of the canon. He is very adept at telling stories within the scope of things that have already been made. I do
Hmm.
not think he is. I do not think he has much of a vision for Star Wars, and I think he's the wrong guy to be in charge.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
I
Well, it's
like
that's
so
disappointing to
disappointing.
hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm curious what your thoughts are when you see it, but I have never been bored in a Star Wars movie before. Maybe for parts of the Phantom Menace, but this is very bland.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say the Phantom Menace was boring to me as a kid until you got to like
Hmm.
the end. But
Yeah,
yeah, that is not great to hear because yeah, I keep seeing like people talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu and just I don't think I've seen anybody have a good thing to say about it, unfortunately.
yeah, and all the positive reviews or like influencer reviews or whatever that I see, it's basically like don't go in expecting for this to save Star Wars or anything, but it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun time if you just turn your brain off. And I'm like, we can want more than that. You
Yeah.
only like it's okay to like movies that don't have the sauce, right? If something works for you, just talk about why it works for you. That's amazing. But the people who like this movie aren't doing that. They're just saying it was fun. Like Red Letter Media's review, I think was pretty spot on about it if you watch that. But it's like people don't have to say that about Empire.
Yeah,
Like
there's so
if
many good things
the
about Empire.
right, or the original movie, or like I don't say that about The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi when I'm praising them. People shit all over those movies, but I'm like, I like them. Here are the things I like about them. If you think a movie is good, you should be able to do
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, not just
And
say, "Oh, it was fun." Like,
yeah, it's the structure is what's weirdest about it. Like it does feel like a couple episodes kind of like reworked to try to be a whole,
hmm
but it doesn't even feel like properly structured TV. But there is a
hmm
point where it's like about probably 45 minutes into the movie, there he goes, he like does a job, and then he goes to Sigourney Weaver and he's like, all right, I'm taking a break, I'm going home, and he goes home, and it's like that was a full arc, like that was an episode of TV that we
yeah.
just watched. um there, there there is one like funny visual gag in it, that has to do with the Baby Yoda and the little Babu Frick guys. um
Mm,
I
I
won't
do love
spoil
the
it because
Babu
it just
Freaks. Yeah.
yeah, they're very cute. There's good puppet work, and there's some actual like stop motion creatures in it. Solid creature design,
Ooh.
but there's just no narrative flow, and the the Mandalorian as a character is not pushed to grow in new ways. We don't explore anything about the New Republic at all. It's just there.
hmm
Um, Sigourney Weaver has no personality in the movie.
that's not great. Don't love that.
It's it's very strange. There's Space Chicago. That's fun. Um,
Okay, I'm into that. Space
I
Chicago.
you see the Hutt's planet, and I actually do like the Hutt's home world. It's a nasty like bog looking thing, but
hmm That makes sense for
um,
them.
yeah, I did see it pointed out, which feels insidious when you think about it, but it's like there are large stretches of the movie where there are no named characters and also no actors on screen. There is a stuntman with the helmet over his face, and everything else is a puppet or CGI. And that feels like in the era of the AI people like wanting to replace actors, or the Hollywood is cooked videos that people make. It's like it's kind of weird that a lot of stretches of this movie just have no people on screen at all.
Mm, that is a little odd. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, we can talk about it in our boys episode if you see it.
Yeah,
But um, yeah, I'm glad we're not dedicating an episode to it. I don't think it's worth
yeah.
that, which is
It's a
shocking to
shame.
say.
Yeah.
But
No one likes saying that a Star Wars product is bad, but some of them are bad. So,
some of them are bad. This one is
exactly.
one of
But
one of
yes,
those.
thank you all so much for listening to the episode. We really appreciate all of our listeners for tuning in to Play Pause Rewind episode 130. If you like this episode, please leave us a review or share with a friend. But until next time, where we'll be talking about the boys on our next episode. Till then, where can people
Mhm.
find you online?
On Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at DDay Movies, on YouTube at DDay Movies, and you can find both Niles and me here at Play Pause Rewind and our second channel, Play Pause Rewind Videos. Niles, what about you? Where can people find you?
Here as always, but you can find me on Instagram at Miles Got No Styles.
Alrighty. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.